Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Relationship Circle podcast. I'm your host, Beck Thompson, and this podcast is all about showing you how to stop running in circles, ditch those dating games, and let your inner compass lead the way. Today, I'm going to be talking about a topic that feels like it's forever in my ears from clients experiencing it over and over again. So I hope that you can relate, and that is the world of situationships. It is rife, I feel. And so we're going to talk about today why situationships are so addictive, what kind of emotional traps keep us stuck in these situations, why it feels so hard to walk away from situationships, and how you can finally break free from them, which is the most important thing. And I suppose stop repeating those patterns over and over again, because so many of the clients that I have come to me are in the pattern of having situationship after situationship after situationship, and it starts out different. They don't think it's that, blah, 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 and then bam, here we are again. But there's definitely a few things that you can do early on to make sure that this doesn't happen for you. So stay tuned for that, because it's going to be epic. So what exactly is a situationship? So it's kind of this murky water where you're not really in a relationship with someone, but you're, romantically involved with them, but you're not single, and it just kind of lies somewhere in the middle of that. Like, you might be hanging out, you might be seeing each other, you might be spending a lot of time together, might be being intimate, having deep conversations, but there isn't a goal of where you're both going, or a commitment to the relationship by either one or both of the parties. So there's this like open-endedness to it. And, quite often in the beginning of relationships, I know people are scared to ask the questions around, like, what are you looking for in a relationship? Where is this going? Where do you see this going? What do you want? What are you after? Blah, blah, blah. Because they're scared of pushing the person away. But then it often leaves us in this like never land of situationships, and it's very confusing. So it can drag on too. Right? It can just so drag on. I just have to say that. Sometimes I think we think these things are like, really they should be weeks or months, but they can go on for years. People are in situationships for years, and like, it blows my mind because I don't know what you think is going to change. But anyway, it's fine. So this is why we might stay in situationships. First of all, they're addictive. So they're addictive because they kind of give you this intermittent reinforcement that you're together. They're like a little bit like breadcrumbing, right? Like, you think that they want something from you. When you're together, things are great. You get this kind of, you get the good feelings in your body when you're with the person. You get the oxytocin. It feels really good to be with them. When it's going good, when you're winning at it, a little bit like gambling, you get this emotional high from it. So it feels good to be in it. And when you're not with the person, or you don't have as much contact with them, you kind of crave more of it, right? And then you get the hit, feels really good, blah, blah, blah. So it can be really addictive. And when they kind of pull away and come back, you kind of get this sense that, you feel relieved, they're back, everything's good, blah, blah, blah. And so sometimes this is where the uncomfortable conversations come in, because you don't want to have them, because in the times you spend with them, you want it to be good, right? You don't want to have these awkward conversations that could lead to tough outcomes, or that you might have to walk away. So the conversations get avoided, right? There's also this fear of abandonment and this scarcity mindset that comes often with situationships, where if someone hasn't had a lot of relationships or hasn't had a lot of interest in dating, when someone shows interest, part of their brain goes, well, what if, it's going to be ages before the next person comes along? What if, this is as good as it gets? What if I don't find someone else? What if this is the best connection I'm ever going to have, right? Like, these are the thoughts that often go on. So they don't want to let that go, because this feels good. This is a good connection when it's there. Might not be there all the time, but it's better than the other relationships I've had, right? Particularly if you've had people that have treated you bad in the past. Not that this is treating you good, by the way, but when they're with you, it feels good. So it can be a bit of a trick on the mind. And you might be worried about them leaving you by you asking the hard questions. And you might be worried that no one else is ever going to come along, or no one else is ever going to meet up to this standard. Because let's be honest, because if you're spending little time with this person, or not in-depth time with this person, things can feel light, and you might almost feel like you're in the honeymoon stage for a longer period of time. So you don't get the chance to go through what Katarina spoke about in the other podcast the other week, that power struggle. So things feel light and good, right? So it can be really addictive in that way. Sometimes situationships trigger your attachment style. And what I mean by that is that if you have an anxious attachment style, you might be concerned that you get this kind of, when they text you, you get this dopamine hit, right? It feels really good, like we spoke about before. And when they pull away, you get this anxiety hit. So there's this mix between the dopamine and anxiety and like what is actually happening there. And when you try and like fix the connection by working harder or giving them what you think they want by being available for them, going over to their place to see them, being ready and dropping your plans when they want to see you, you know, canceling your plans from other people because they're now ready to see you, or making sure you craft the most perfect text to send them, or you don't say the wrong thing, or that's kind of creates that anxiety trap with them and can trigger that anxious attachment style. And if you've got it, you probably know what I mean. And the thing is that it's not really creating connection with that person. There's no deeper connection with them. But again, some people haven't had a deep connection in relationships. So this might feel deep, right? It's not until you've had that real deep soul connection with someone that you understand what that really is. But I believe that's what everyone is kind of craving. We just don't know how to get there. So again, with that anxious attachment style, it kind of creates this like push-pull dynamic, which when you kind of get used to that, I see that track into couples all the time in the way that they navigate conflict, in the way that they navigate their communication with each other, their intimacy. There's this real like, if someone goes in, I pull away. And that's that real anxious avoidant style that goes together by really push-pull. There's also this fantasy of potential of what it could be that kind of keeps you stuck in them. So, you know, it's not like the person won't be saying, I can see things. There could be a lot of language or a lot of words around why they can see this relationship being really good, or where they could see it going, or what they could see it turning into. And you might also have this idea around like, you know, if I stay around longer, things will change. They've said they want to be with me, but actions are not aligning to the words, you know, or they might have outright told you that they're not wanting anything long term, but in your mind, you've created this story around like, you'll be the one to change them. You'll be the one to change their mind. So this fantasy or this idea around what the relationship could be or might be in the future keeps us stuck in what is really in the present and what is happening right now. So let's jump right to, because let's say you're in the situationship, you don't know what to do, or you're noticing these patterns over and over and over again. Let's jump to what to do if you are in a situationship, because this is really important. And if you recognize that you're in one, the first thing you need to do is acknowledge the truth of what is happening now. Not where you want it to be in the future, not even where it's been in the past, but what is happening in the relationship right now. What actions are aligning to what words, or misaligning, that is showing you the truth of what is happening in the relationship right now. And I want you to ask yourself, like, am I accepting breadcrumbs from them and like calling it a connection? Am I making excuses for them and their inconsistency? Am I working harder and harder to keep this person because I don't want to lose them? Am I changing who I am so that I don't lose this person? If your answer is yes to any of these things, that's not a healthy relationship. Right? And it's definitely not setting the relationship up for a healthy, ongoing thing. So the answers to those questions might feel hard and they might feel really tough to answer, but it will set you free from it. So after you acknowledge the truth of what's happening, then you've got to stop participating in it, right? Because you've got to realize what you're worth. And if you're accepting this behavior over and over and over again, you're saying that this is all I'm worth. And it's not true. You're worth way more than this. You're definitely worth more. Someone being consistent, someone being honest, someone being respectful, someone being kind, whatever it is, you're worth it. So if they can't change and you have spoken up about this, if you've had a conversation about this and no change has happened, then you have to walk away. You have to acknowledge that change is not going to happen, particularly if words are not matching actions. It's not good enough for them to say, I really want to do it, I want things to change, and then nothing changes. Watch the actions. Then it's about letting go of or grieving the fantasy of what you thought this could be or where you've gone in your mind with it. Come back to the present of what it was, because the fantasy is not reality. It's not how it was happening. So be honest with yourself, and then you get to grieve the future of what you thought it was going to be like. You get to grieve the good times of what the relationship was when you had really good times. And this is not to say that you didn't have good times with this person. It's to say that it wasn't the whole picture and you deserve the whole picture with someone. And then walk away with your head held high, because this is a strength. This is not a weakness to walk away. This is a real strength to acknowledge what you deserve. And when someone's not providing that to you, to walk away from it. Right? Walk with your head held high. When you choose alignment over that attachment, you get to reclaim your power, which is really, really cool, right? So you don't need to convince someone to choose you. You don't need to earn someone's love. You don't have to change so that someone else will like you. You don't have to be this anxious mess when they're not contacting you. If it's not aligned, it's not meant to be. And you deserve someone to give you everything. So please walk away from those situationships, acknowledge what's happening for you, and know, because I know for you that there's something way better out there for you. But it only comes on the other side of you saying no to this behavior. All right, I'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much for listening to the show. If you got value from this, please don't hesitate to share with a friend so they can get value from this too. And don't forget to hit follow so you don't miss an episode. It's also how I keep this podcast alive.
Audience exclusive.